It's about noticing your own worthiness independent of what you do. Noticing your own worthiness independent of an external thing that tells you that you're good enough. It's creating that internal I am, right? And whatever you want to say after that. But I am a receiver. I am a receiver of abundance. I am open to the gifts that people are willing to give to me. Hello, beautiful people. Yes, I am talking to you. Are you ready to feel confident AF, free from the expectations and opinions of others, and create ultimate self-trust in who you are, what you say, and how you show up in every part of your life? If you answered a hell yes, I am, I guarantee this episode will empower you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. It's time for you to strut your stuff, express yourself with freedom, and fully embrace every freaking fabulous part of you. Let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another episode of Road to Radical Visibility. My name is Rachel Freemon Sowers, also known as the Break Free Bitch, because I am passionate about helping people just like you break free from the toxic social constructs, opinions, and expectations that have been holding you back from experiencing your life exactly the way that you want to. And if you've been hanging out here for very long, you'll know that my personal and professional motto is being 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. So this episode, if you're watching the YouTube channel, is going to be a little bit different because I am coming to you from Tacoma, Washington. I am outside. I want to be able to do more podcasts like this. There's going to be some background noise because I'm outside and this is just how it is. But I was like, I need to get outside. I want to be in the sun. I want to be where it's cool. It's a gorgeous area and I can't wait just to continue to adventure here throughout this week. Which brings me up to the topic of this week. So the topic of this week is the art of receiving. And let me tell you, I have been receiving a lot of beautiful and wonderful gifts in multiple different avenues and multiple different ways over the last year and a half. And it really has kind of amped up and given me opportunities and opened doors for me that have never been opened before. And I'm really excited to share this topic with you. The reason this is coming up right now is because, first of all, my clients have brought it up a lot recently, but more so than that, when I was on the AIDS Life Cycle ride, Ronica and I did it this year. We volunteered. I had an experience of receiving that really was almost kind of astounding to me. And I had hurt my ankle on the AIDS Life Cycle, and I had gone to sports medicine. I've gone to medical, and on day 2, my ankle wasn't getting any better. I could hardly walk, and I went into sports medicine, and they're like, "Okay, let's look at it." And we contemplated what needed to be done, and then they went to medical because the decision was, "Okay, we're going to get you a boot. We're going to see if medical has a boot." So the director of sports medicine went up to medical and said, "Hey, do you have one?" They didn't have one. The director comes back, looks at me and says, "Okay, listen, I'm going to go and get a boot for you and I'm going to be back. Don't move. I'll be back in half an hour." So I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to stay here. I won't move. And in that moment, just them taking care of me, them assessing me, them talking to me about how I was feeling, them listening to me, it was a moment of deep receiving. And there were moments during this time that I was like, why would you go and do this for me? Why would you leave and go get something that I need, right? And it was almost like I hadn't experienced that level of care from perfect strangers. Okay, I'm going to say just honestly, ever. And it was almost like, sure, this is what you need. This is what we're going to do for you. And I got so emotional and I was crying, which, as many of you know, is not new. However, this was different because it was like, what is this emotion bringing up for me? Why is this emotion coming up? And it was because part of me was like, well, why would you do that? And then another part of me is like, oh my God, they're here for me. oh my God, like they would do anything. They're here to support me. This is one of the things I want to continue to be for my clients, is a support. Like when you need something, I want to be there to support you as a client if you need it. When you are struggling, I want to be there. When you have celebrations, I want to celebrate with you, right? Because the bottom line is that in that moment, I felt so supported. It was almost like my heart was opening up. And that was a new experience for me. I hadn't had really, well, ever, or for, I can't even remember the last time I had that feeling, right? And so then I got to thinking, what has stopped me in the past from receiving? What stops my clients from receiving the things that are right there waiting for them, but they can't see it? So some of the things that I've been told stops, and some of the things that have stopped me, is shame. The shame of needing help, the shame of even wanting it, the shame of, well, I shouldn't need it. I should be able to handle this. How many times have you said that to yourself? Oh, I should be able to handle this, The guilt of, I didn't do anything on the AIDS life cycle at that moment. And honestly, throughout the whole week, I did as much as I could, but I wasn't working as hard as I wanted to work. I felt guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't take advantage of these services because I'm not really doing anything, or I haven't earned it, or I haven't accomplished this or accomplished that, so I don't deserve it, right? Being seen as something, being seen as weak, being seen as needing something. I mean, when did us needing something turn into a bad thing, right? That made us needy. But in my childhood, like, I was so sensitive that people were like, well, what do you need now? Take care of it yourself, all of those things. And so the shame and the guilt, being someone that was afraid to take without earning the taking. And when I say taking, I mean like just receiving the compliment. And feeling like sometimes we discount a compliment, or like if at the Go Red event, someone's like, oh my God, that was so great. Well, several people said it. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then still in part of my head, it was like, oh, thank you so much. But this part went wrong and it would have been better a different way. Right? And it's like those contradictory messages that we give ourselves really stop us from receiving. They stop us from being able to see what is really there for us. And over the last year, I've been learning how to receive so much more without the guilt, without the shame, without thinking, what have I done to deserve this? I deserve it, or I'm receiving it because I'm saying yes to receiving it. I don't have to do anything more. I don't have to be anybody else. I can live my life by being myself, I'm just adjusting myself on this slant here, by noticing that I'm worthy of whatever I want to receive, right? And so it's kind of like how many times we've been taught through scarcity not to receive. Oh, I can't take that because it's going to come out of somebody else's mouth, or it's going to deprive someone else of something. And that really is a scarcity mindset, which doesn't equal into abundance, which doesn't equal into receiving, because we believe there's not something else there for us to receive. There's not enough to go around. And I'm here to tell you, my friends, there's plenty to go around. So then the question is, how do we get into the mode of receiving? How do we start being able to see these things? And one of the first things that we can do is unattach. And we have to go into the subconscious mind to unattach. How many of you, and I know I've done this too, how many of you have said like, oh, I just want to receive this. Oh, I want to receive the next compliment. And then you go, okay, thanks so much. And then all of a sudden you're like, thanks so much. But you didn't need to do that. Or, someone else is more deserving. Or, I paid a compliment to this person that was in the bar here at the hotel, who was part of the LGBTQ plus community. And they were just freaking gorgeous individual. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were so beautiful. And they said, oh, thank you so much. I give my mom all the credit. And that's wonderful, right? And yet I wonder how many times you deflect. How many times I've deflected in the past. And to be completely honest, what I've stopped doing is deflecting. How we get into the mode is we unattach from these expectations, these toxic beliefs that we've been taught about ourselves by religion, by societal constructs, by cultural constructs, even in the internal working culture of the LGBTQ plus community. There's still a cultural thing of some people are more worthy than other people. I see it all the time when I work with LGBTQ plus people. When I work with gay men, they're like, oh, these people are the upper echelon of this, and I'm not good enough to be with them, and I'm not, right? And it's almost like we don't believe we are worthy. So that's another thing. It's about noticing your own worthiness independent of what you do. Noticing your own worthiness independent of an external thing that tells you that you're good enough. It's creating that internal I am, right? And whatever you want to say after that. But I am a receiver. I am a receiver of abundance. I am open to the gifts that people are willing to give to me. The other part of this is knowing yourself. When you know yourself, it builds the confidence. It builds self-trust. So it's you knowing what you want, knowing how you want to interact, knowing what experiences you want to have. And then when you know those things, you say yes to receive those particular things. Also, in this self-trust, you're open to receiving the things you never expected to receive. You're open to saying, hey, this is a new experience. Hey, I trust myself. When Alexis Asby asked me to go to Costa Rica, I didn't hardly know her. And I was like, okay, well, I'm open to receiving. And it's almost like I got to have this beautiful experience because she gifted it. I got to have a new understanding of myself because I said yes. So if you want to get into the mode of receiving, it's knowing what you want, how you want to be interacting, building that confidence, building that self-trust, and then saying yes and unattaching, right? All of these things kind of go together. Whew. And even now, as I sit here outside in this beautiful space where it's cool, it's like open to receiving what this is. Open to receiving feeling this cool air on my skin. Open to receiving that this podcast doesn't have to take place in a box. That the noise in the background is fine. Like it's all of the things that I'm open to receiving are my truth. And when we shift those truths that were given to us by other people and we turn and we say, this is what really my truth is, this creates that freedom. So what is it that you're wanting to receive in your life? Do you want to receive more love? It can be personal. It can be self-love. It can be relationships. Maybe you want to receive more self-respect. Maybe you want to receive and experience more freedom. The thing with all of this is that it has to start internally. It's not going to work if you try and take it externally and make that your reason. You are worthy of receiving exactly what you want. Now, this can be kind of complicated when people in the online world and in the manifesting community say you attract what you are. You attract all these things. Well, the fact of the matter is that some of that is true. But the other thing is that there can be a deeper attraction. We're going to deal with all this stuff that's on the surface. We're going to deal with the old beliefs, with the limiting beliefs, with the expectations, with the opinions of other people, with toxic social constructs. None of that's going away. But what we have to decide is that what is deeper is what is for us and what we truly want. And then we begin to head in that direction. You see, because people like, unless you're in this high vibration all the time, you're not going to manifest. That's not true. I don't even know what a high vibration is. Like maybe they say that, but real shit happens. Real life is happening. And we have to learn how to take these ebbs and flows. The other day with a client, I did this meditation, and she's like, I feel like all this stuff has just hit me. It hits me like a wave every time. And we did this beautiful meditation where she learns how to ride these waves, and she can lift herself up before it comes crashing down around her. She knows how to keep herself safe in that circumstance. She knows how to internally help herself so that no matter what's going on externally, she will be okay. And it can be grieving. And she's gone through significant grief and trauma in the last year. And it's almost like, okay, I'm going to receive this goodness. I'm going to receive knowing that I can have this grief, but I can also receive the safety of knowing who I am and how I want to be in this moment. I can receive the self-trust that I've created internally. So it even goes back to this internal receiving. What are you giving yourself? What are you depriving yourself of? Oh, Lord, we could go down that as a rabbit hole, what we deprive ourselves of, because we can't even receive it from ourselves. The other danger of receiving externally is that we're waiting for someone or something to happen before we can feel good, before we can say that we're worthy, before we can say that I'm happy, before we can say that I'm skinny enough, before we can say that I'm healthy enough, before we can say that I'm smart enough. It's the claiming of what we know for ourselves and our truth. And the only way we do that is by knowing ourselves. So I'm wondering, again, the question, what have you been craving? How have you been depriving yourself of receiving? Not on purpose, but because it's what you were taught. There's no need to judge yourself for all this. There's no need to shame yourself for it. There's only a need of awareness and then deciding what you want instead. So as I wrap up this podcast, I hope it's been inspiring, empowering, inspirational to someone out there to say that I am determining my own worthiness. I am determining what I want to receive. I am getting to know myself so I can create a life in which I have the experiences that I want. The reason I've got to travel, I've been able to travel and make money at the same time and do this podcast outside and adventure and all the things, it's because I started saying yes to what I wanted. I started saying yes, please, to the things I wanted and no thank you to the things that I didn't. If that's something you want to master, I would love to have you reach out to me, and I would love to help guide you through this process of you creating this freedom of receiving, you creating this way of being that truly lights your fucking life up so much that you're constantly saying, this is my life. Holy shit, this is my life. I never thought it would be like this. And then part of me is like, yes, it can be. And I went towards that. Friend, it's your turn. It's your time. And now we need to clasp it. Each one of us needs to show up just as we are, with no shame and no guilt, because it makes the world a better place. And the more each one of us do that, the more free each one of us feels, the more that spreads that energy. I don't know. I guess I could go on for days, but let me know what you think about this podcast. If there is someone else that you're like, hey, this person might be inspired by this podcast, please share it. Please share it. The goal of this podcast is to reach as many people as possible and inspire them to be 100% themselves 100% of the time, with no shame or guilt needed. Okay, my friends, I think I'm going to end it there. I'll say goodbye from this beautiful city of Tacoma, Washington, and I can't wait to see you in the next road to radical visibility. So until then, make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one within you. I will see you all on the next road to radical visibility. Until then, bye. Hold up, don't go yet. If this episode inspired you to be 100% yourself 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed, even just that little bit more, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I'm here, and I know you are too, to make a positive impact in the world. So don't forget to share the love. And if you were left wanting more of this type of kick-ass content, then don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Until next time, make sure to stay true and be you. Until then, bye.